So, some pretty interesting happened. I wanted to check on Sage and Omen, who they actually are and what connection they have in Valorant. I'm gonna be answering those questions today, and if you want more Valorant content, be sure to subscribe. I actually couldn't find any research about Sage at all or Omen. That's why I decided to make this video. People who are looking to know what Omen and Sage are. It also seems like in the most recent events they have been teasing their connection more and more. However, Valorant did leave us some clues in the voice lines and in how they look. What's really interesting is that Omen is complete opposite of Sage. Sage brings life while Omen takes it. Let's look at some of the voice lines Omen has for Sage.
Sabine, look at the monsters we've become. At least you have flesh to hide your horror. There is another of me. How many times did I get ripped apart? How many times did I die? A radiant healer is with them. I can feel her pull against the natural balance. Split. They don't know the meaning of the word. If Sage, the life you give, do you ever wonder where it's taken from? Just think, Sabine. You used to heal with your skill. Funny.
This is really interesting as it possibly confirms that Omen was once human but not anymore. Omen is now a shadow, a split of darkness, but however, we want to look at directly what Omen actually is. Here are a few most likely possible theories. Omen was a scientist who failed an experiment. He's now a shadow monster and he wears an armor to not split apart. He has a voice of split. They don't know the meaning of those words. Also worked with Viper. I think that's a very possible theory, working with Viper, because Viper is also having some interactions with Omen. Now, Sabine, look at the monster that we've become, basically means that also Viper could potentially be disrupted by this Kingdom Radiant experiment. You can see his ultimate animation ripping off his armor so he can die and split another hit of himself on another area. Basically, that's how his teleporter works. By removing his armor, he can actually use his abilities. Now we're gonna look more deeper into this. If you were looking for answers, congratulations, because you found them. So this is a reply to the original comment. I thought so too. If you look at his selection animation, you can see his blue spots, which are the eyes and small gaps in his chest plate. It makes me think that maybe Omen became a dark mass of sentient energy after a failed experiment and uses the ghastly form as an exoskeleton. Now this isn't far off. However, what's more important to note is his Radionite abilities that forced him. And it's a high chance that Omen worked with Viper on Radionite experiments and looking into how Radionite works. Omen, once he dies, he doesn't actually die in Valorant. He actually respawns in his own way. Since energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, this supports this theory. This is pretty important to note here. Omen, with a failed Radionite experiment, did not die. Instead, he got Radionite superpowers, which turned him into a monster. While Omen picked up the bad straw, Viper wasn't so lucky either. What she had to do was use the gas toxin clouds to survive. She now has to breathe toxic clouds instead of air. Now that's a life I don't want to live in. Viper is from Antarctica, and Antarctica is an icebox. I definitely think that it's connected since Icebox was being used to research Radionite and its abilities. That could potentially mean that Viper herself also obtained such Radionite powers. Now Sage is complete opposite of Omen. She's from China and she did some things that she regretted early in life. We are not sure what that means, but now she is using the good to heal people and save them.
Their Sova looks familiar. What am I saying? Of course he does. I wonder what torture their Omen is going through. Is it like ours? Poor soul. Goodbye, old friend. I know their leader well. I assume he's like ours, right? Their Omen may be a nightmare, but I was never scared of the dark.
So obviously what Sage is trying to do is find what she's supposed to do, and that is help others. But why? Why does she want to help others so much? And why does she care so much about Omen? Their past is something that is not yet explained in Valorant, although we have a few indications. It could be that they were friends in childhood, it could be that they met as an agent before when they were actually human. There's a lot of possible theories and not a lot of clues for me to go on. But what I do think is Sabine was basically a scientist on Kingdom, and that is very likely possible. If you look over here, this card tells you everything. Speaking about player cards, this is Sage's player card, which can also tell you that Sage is Chinese. This should give you a basic overview of the 3 important agents in Valorant and how they are connected. Hopefully we get more information in the future.